The early weeks of 2026 have been unusually heavy. Names we grew up with, voices we recognized on the radio, faces we welcomed into our living rooms week after week.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Several of them are gone now in the span of just a few months. Some had been fighting illness quietly for years. Others went suddenly without warning.
James Beek says that the actor has passed away, they say in a social media post.
Together, they shaped decades of American culture. Today, we look back at famous celebrities we lost in the last days. There is a moment in Home Alone, the scramble at the airport, the dawning horror on her face, that has been passed down through generations of family movie nights. Kate McAllister was supposed to be the butt of a joke, a distracted mother who forgot her son. In Catherine O'Hara's hands, she became something far more human, a woman in the grip of real panic, and that shift in register is what gave the film its emotional ground. O'Hara came from SCTV, the Canadian sketch comedy institution she joined in the late 1970s. She was the kind of performer who could make even the broadest character feel like an actual person, which is a rare gift. Tim Burton recognized it, casting her in Beetlejuice and later in The Nightmare Before Christmas, where her voice work as Sally remains definitive. Christopher Guest used her in nearly every one of his mockumentaries, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, Waiting for Guffman, each time trusting her to carry the most delicate comedic weight. And then, in middle age, she gave audiences Moira Rose on Schitt's Creek, a performance of such sustained, strange, committed invention that it earned an Emmy and introduced her to a whole new generation who had no idea what they had been missing. She died on January 30th, 2026 at 71, at her home in Los Angeles. Her death certificate listed a pulmonary embolism. She had also been diagnosed with cancer. A brief illness, her representative said. She left behind an enormous body of work and no obvious successor. He was 31 years old when he made his film debut as Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird, a wordless performance, mostly shadow and stillness, that announced something about the quality of his attention. In the decade that followed, Robert Duvall moved through American cinema like a man who had all the time in the world and nothing to prove. His name is inseparable from a particular era of American filmmaking. Tom Hagen in The Godfather, quiet, loyal, dangerous in the way that stillness can be dangerous. Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore in Apocalypse Now, a man so lost in his own mythology he couldn't hear the war he was standing in. Max Sledge in Tender Mercies, the role that won him the Oscar in 1984, a washed-up country singer finding his way back to something like grace and doing it in a register so interior and unshowy that it remains one of the most quietly powerful Best Actor performances on record. He once roomed in a New York apartment with Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman, three struggling actors sorting mail and driving trucks and waiting for the work to come. All three became legends. He outlasted them both. He died on February 15, 2026 at his farm in Middleburg, Virginia, with his wife Luciana at his side. He was 95. No cause was specified. His family asked people to remember him by watching a film, sharing a story at the table, or taking a drive through the countryside. That sounded about right for a man who had been in no hurry about anything. Dawson Leary talked a great deal. He spoke in full paragraphs about feelings and films and the meaning of things, which was both the character's defining quality and, for a segment of late 1990s teenagers, an oddly comforting permission slip. Here was someone on television who took his inner life seriously, who made being earnest look like something other than a flaw. James Beek played him across 6 seasons of Dawson's Creek with a conviction that never tipped into self-parody, and the show became a genuine touchstone for a generation navigating its way through high school. In the years that followed, Beek showed an easy willingness to poke at his own image, a quality that turned out to be genuinely endearing. He appeared in comedies, took supporting roles, and moved into producing. He was, by most accounts, a warm and grounded presence in an industry that tends to complicate warmth and groundedness. In November 2024, he announced that he had been diagnosed with colorectal cancer at stage 3. He spoke about it publicly with the directness that seemed characteristic of him. He died on February 11, 2026 at 48, surrounded by his family. He left behind his wife Kimberly and 5 children. Tributes focused less on the role he was known for and more on the kind of father and husband he had been. That felt like a fair measure of a life. He was standing in the parking lot of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis on April 4, 1968, talking with Martin Luther King Jr. just before the shot was fired. Jesse Jackson was 26 years old. The man above him on the balcony was gone within an hour, and Jackson would spend the next half-century deciding what to do with the weight of that moment. What he did was build. He founded Operation Push in 1971, worked voter registration drives that helped elect Chicago's first black mayor in 1983, and then twice ran for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1984 and 1988, reaching millions of voters who had never seen themselves represented in that contest before. He coined the phrase, "keep hope alive," and if it became something people could recite without quite remembering where it came from, that was partly because the idea had entered the bloodstream. He received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2000. He was also a complicated figure, capable of extraordinary moral clarity and, at other moments, controversy that followed him for years. He never stopped moving. In 2017, he publicly disclosed a Parkinson's diagnosis and later a rarer neurological condition called progressive supranuclear palsy, which eventually stole his voice. He died on February 17, 2026 in Chicago at 84. His family said he died peacefully, surrounded by those he loved. His daughter Santita asked people to keep doing the work. He would have wanted that. The moment people remember is the towel scene. 3rd season, Grey's Anatomy, 2006. Dr. Mark Sloan stepping out of a hospital bathroom with nothing but a strategically placed towel, and every conversation about the show changing overnight. McSteamy entered the cultural vocabulary and stayed there. Eric Dane was 33 years old, and suddenly he was the kind of famous that follows a person everywhere. He wore it lightly, or tried to. He had grown up in Northern California, moved to Los Angeles in his early 20s, and spent years picking up guest spots in small roles before the break came. After Grey's Anatomy, he led 5 seasons of The Last Ship and later found a second wave of serious attention as the volatile Cal Jacobs in Euphoria, a role so different from McSteamy that it served as a reminder he had always been more interesting than his most famous entrance suggested. In April 2025, he announced he had been diagnosed with ALS. He was 52. His symptoms had begun with a weakness in his right hand. By that June, his right arm was gone. By October, he was in a wheelchair. He spent the months that followed lobbying Congress for ALS research funding, accepting awards for advocacy, and telling interviewers he wanted to be there when his daughters graduated and got married. He died on February 19, 2026, at 53, from respiratory failure. He did not make it to those milestones, but he spent his last year fighting as if he might. He grew up in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, in the same neighborhood that produced Neil Diamond and across the street from Carole King, who was then still called Carol Klein. They dated briefly in high school. He wrote "Oh Carol" for her when she moved on. She responded with "Oh Neil." That kind of thing happened in Brighton Beach in the late 1950s, when a generation of kids with piano lessons and ambitions were all within walking distance of each other. Sedaka was a child prodigy, admitted to the Juilliard preparatory program at 8, and by 13 already writing songs. The Brill Building era was his natural home, that concentrated stretch of New York offices where songwriters worked in tiny rooms, cranking out material for the charts. Calendar Girl, Happy Birthday. Sweet 16, Breaking Up is Hard to Do. Between 1959 and 1963, he placed 10 records in the top 10. Then the Beatles arrived, the market shifted, and Sedaka spent 13 years, as he put it, in the wilderness. The comeback when it came in the mid-70s was genuine and fully earned. Laughter in the Rain went to #1. Elton John helped produce his return to the American market. The Captain and Tennille covered Love Will Keep Us Together, and Tony Tennille shouted Sedaka's back at the end of the track. He never really stopped. He was still performing dozens of concerts a year well into his 80s. He died on the morning of February 27, 2026, after being taken by ambulance from his West Hollywood home to a hospital. He was 86, 2 weeks short of 87, which happened to be the exact date of his birthday. His family called his passing sudden and devastating. He had been seen at dinner 2 nights before, showing no signs of illness. The Carradine family was Hollywood royalty in a specific sun-baked California way. John Carradine, the patriarch, had appeared in John Ford westerns. His sons David, Keith, and Robert all went into the business. Robert was the youngest and for a long time the least visible. He had supporting roles in Mean Streets and Coming Home and The Big Red One in the 1970s, serious films with serious company. Before 1984 handed him Louis Skolnick. Revenge of the Nerds was not a prestige picture. It was a broad college comedy about outcasts organizing against the people who humiliated them, and it became a genuine phenomenon. Skolnick's triumphant speech at the end, his declaration that every person who had ever felt like an outsider was a nerd, and that nerds were what moved the world, landed differently than the film's makers probably expected. It became something people actually believed in. A generation found themselves in that character. Later, he played Sam McGuire on Lizzie McGuire, the quietly supportive television dad, and found a new audience among children who had never heard of Louis Skolnick. His family confirmed his death on February 23, 2026 at 71. In their statement, they acknowledged his nearly 2-decade battle with bipolar disorder and asked that his struggle help reduce the stigma around mental illness. His brother Keith added simply, "There is no shame in it, there wasn't." Most people who recognize Jennifer Runyon's face today probably can't immediately place the name. She appears early in Ghostbusters, the college student in the ESP test scene with Bill Murray, who is feeding her false answers in order to impress her. It is a small role, barely 2 minutes on screen, but it's a warm and winning 2 minutes, and the film has been watched often enough that the face stayed with audiences in the way that brief, pleasant things sometimes do. She also played Cindy Brady's older sister in A Very Brady Christmas in 1988, which for a specific slice of American television viewers of a certain age, carries its own kind of recognition. Her career was largely built from that kind of work: guest appearances, TV movies, family programming, the reliable supporting presence that holds ensemble pieces together without drawing attention to itself. She stepped away from acting in the 1990s after marrying producer Todd Corman, and largely stayed private. She died on March 6, 2026 at 65, following a battle with cancer. There was no long press release, no retrospective announcement. The people who remembered her warmly, and that may be exactly the kind of legacy she would have wanted. He coached at 7 universities and 1 NFL franchise and compiled a career record of 249 wins, 132 losses, and 7 ties. That summary is accurate and almost entirely beside the point. What Lou Holtz actually was, for the better part of 4 decades, was one of the most quotable, motivational, and persistently watchable figures in American football. A small man with a lisp and a visible joy in the craft of building teams, who managed to turn every press conference into something between a philosophy lecture and a stand-up routine. The Notre Dame years, from 1986 to 1996, were the high point in terms of record and reputation. His 1988 team went undefeated and won the national championship. He is the only coach in college football history to take 6 different programs to bowl games. He was a fixture on television after his coaching career ended, a presence on ESPN and Fox Sports who could be relied upon for both genuine insight and the occasional controversial opinion delivered with the cheerful certainty of a man who had stopped worrying about what anyone thought. He died on March 4, 2026 at 89. Tributes from former players and colleagues described a man who had been consistent in private to what he projected in public, demanding, generous, funny, and absolutely certain that attitude determined altitude. Whether you loved his football teams or not, it was hard not to find something useful in how loudly he had believed in the work. Ten names, 10 very different lives. A 95-year-old actor who had been doing bicep curls on his farm just weeks before he died. A 53-year-old who spent his last year fighting for people he would never meet, because the disease that was killing him was killing others too. A civil rights leader who lost his voice to illness in his final years but never stopped being heard. A comedian whose face most of us knew before we knew her name. The first months of 2026 have carried a particular kind of weight. These are not abstract losses. They are the people whose work accompanied real moments in real lives. Somewhere, someone watched Home Alone with their children this winter, not knowing it would be one of the last times that felt uncomplicated. If one of these names meant something to you, a film, a song, a game, a face you recognized, we would love to hear about it in the comments. And if you want to stay close to these stories as they unfold, please subscribe. It helps us keep doing this.